This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Gather round, iRacing youngins, and let me regale you of a time when only a scant 2 or 3 tracks had 60 grid slots. Of a time when any sort of suspension damage meant your race was truly over as it was unable to be fixed by the sim. Of a time in which big grid races were both young and high stakes. Those days have long gone by, and old fogies like Bill and I remember much in the way Pepperidge Farm does. But that doesn't mean the big grid races have now no excitement and no challenge. Instead, now we get to enjoy big grids at many different tracks. Drivers get a chance to re-enter no matter the damage, and the building history leaves a sense of tradition and heritage for these now seasonal races. This time, it's Phillip Island that plays host as we get ready to watch the SRF vRunoffs Big Grid, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Bill Soup Zahn. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and is using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Bill, Phillip Island has seen the SRF Big Grid race before, and I don't mean it lightly when I say this place tends to put on a stunner.
Yeah, Joe, I know there's a growing dismay about little cars on a big track, and while Phillip Island probably fits the draft track definition, this is one track where I just don't mind because, like you said, this place always seems to provide great racing. First, the stats, 4.5 kilometers or 2 3/4 miles around them for those who are metrically challenged with 12 corners. But those decreasing radius corners, oh my goodness, so many here. Start easy, then tighten up near the end. For newcomers or old timers who refuse to practice, finding at the apex of the corner is a bit of an Easter egg hunt. Joe will show you how it's done on the video lap guide. Let me tell you what to expect during the race while you look at the track map that we just put up. Passing into the corners, into Doohan, sure. The drivers defending there also. Maybe when you go for exploring Australia, as drivers will go wide through the southern loop, you can count on that. Lots of passing into the Honda corner, the right-hand hairpin. Now, what makes Honda exciting is often the pass finishes on the way to Siberia, and bad things can happen there. Bad things happen on the way to Siberia is a lesson to be learned not only in racing, but in life in general. Up to Lukey Heights, which can lead to many post-race discussions about track etiquette. After a few more corners, you get to pit entrance where getting off the track is easy, but there are mistakes to be made and time to be made as well between leaving the track and getting to the slowdown cones. Finally, the ugly duckling, that is the final corner swan. What's important to know here is how far down the straight the finish line is. Look for drivers in second, third, maybe even fourth to try to snipe the win beneath the waving checkered flag. Now, as promised, let's jump on board the GSRC SRF. Man, that's a lot of consecutive letters there. And you can see Phillip Island firsthand.
All right, we've got Kevin Brown in the GSRC SRF, so let's do a lap around Phillip Island. This long front straightaway is going to create draft battles all day, so don't be surprised to see cars 2 and 3 wide. However, coming up to Doohan, the first corner, it's going to get very hairy when cars aren't single file. It's barely a lift through here, and the SRF has some serious off-throttle oversteer. After that, you have to quickly get set up for the southern loop. This is a very long corner that both has a rise in elevation and a very late apex, so it's extremely easy to get the power too early and understeer off into the weeds. If you got it right, you'll be in a good position to set up a pass into the hairpin. But before you reach that, you'll need to gently steer it into Stoner. Unfortunately, this kink can make it hard to tell if a driver plans to defend down into Honda, so be wary of your opponent's intentions. On the exit, you can use all of this AstroTurf on the outside, so don't be afraid to let the car drift pretty far out. From there, it's a short run to Siberia, which has some very unique characteristics. It's an uphill climb with lots of banking, but it's such a long corner that you'll want to square off the apex very late. This is going to be super important now that you're on the backside of the circuit, because it's a long ways until you lift off the power. The car is going to weave gently left and then to the right through 7 and 8, but keep holding right to set yourself up for looky heights. The track is going to climb and climb, but get tighter and tighter, so some lifting will be necessary. That's because you definitely want the car to hug the left curb as you plunge back downhill into the braking for turn 10. This is a sharp hairpin with a good bit of camber, but once again, it's an incredibly important exit. You won't be lifting again until you reach Doohan. Hold left around 11, then track out to give the widest entry you can into 12. This is the final corner, and once again, the banking allows you to carry lots and lots of speed. And you're going to need it now that we've hit the long pit straight. As long as you've kept it on the black stuff and pointed forward, you've now finished a lap around Phillip Island.
There you see a lap around the beautiful Phillip Island race course. And of course, there's many beautiful places you can go in this world, and you can do that by cruise even. Because attention all iRacers, we've found a way to get you all on the same boat. Take a cruise with us to celebrate the new year. That's right, sail out of Miami with us on January 5th, 2020 for a 7-night Eastern Caribbean cruise on the Royal Caribbean Oasis of the Seas. Special group pricing has been put in place for iRacing members and their friends. Sail away and get together with members of the iRacing community and get ready to see Phillipsburg, St. Martin, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and Labadee, Haiti. For as little as $125 a day, you can cruise the high seas for 7 days. And for a small deposit, you can secure a spot today. Payment plans available for everyone. Contact Brenna today at the cruise shop to get in on this special offer. Email or call, but do it now. Spots are filling quickly. Brenna at thecruiseshopfw.com. Going over to their Facebook events page with all the details about this amazing offer. Facebook/Cruise Shop FW. We'll see you on the ship. Taking a look, of course, at the practice, the qualifying now essentially happening that we see with drivers getting 20 minutes to try to get a time in. We've got a number of them who've managed to put them on, but this is a little bit different from the Weekend Warriors, Bill. So, of course, the racing is going to be similar, but just in case our viewers are wondering, what are the race details for today?
Similar and a little different from what we've usually done in these big grids before. As we bring up the event details there, you see the car and the setup and everything. That's all pretty much the same. What I want to talk about that's interesting is when you take and you combine the fast repair that's available and the pit stop. Usually the fast repair wasn't an issue in this thing because it was a sprint. It was 40 minutes and there wasn't a pit stop involved. With a pit stop, if you pick up damage and you get that damage before your pit window opens up, you can still play around with this one. We still have our incident cap. The pit window probably about the middle third of the race, Joe. So it should be a draft race. Want to stay up front with the guys. Good one, though.
That's pretty much tradition here in the Spec Racer Ford big grid races they hold every week 13. They tend to try and pick tracks that allow drafting just because it tends to put on some excitement. As we watch Chris Murakami get overtaken down the front stretch by Edward Doherty. He's going to slip by into Doohan. We'll see a lot of that today as well. You know, one of the interesting things, though, as far as the track choice, Bill, that I found, the reason they went for Phillip Island this time, though, is the organizer, Stevie Ray, considered it the closest track to what is, I guess, essentially his home track, which is the Hallett Race Shop. They sponsored last season of the Weekend Warriors. Yeah, so he says it's a little bit smaller, but a lot of elevation change and a lot of variety in corners like this place have. So it's kind of cool that they have more reasoning other than long straight.
Yeah, well, other than when I think of it, I think like Spa, where for these cars it's really big because you're just on the throttle so much. Here it has some tight corners. You have Honda, and then the MG corner number 10, where you're on the brakes. Great passing zones, and I talked about it in the introduction to the lap guide there. I think this provides a lot of racing, not just the draft, although the draft is a big factor. There's not enough technical sections to run away from the field. That's the main thing to worry about.
Certainly enough to spice it up, that's for sure. We're riding on board, I believe, with Steve Elson there. The number 56 we see on screen. He's coming down into MG corner. Probably one of the slowest turns on this track. Very tricky braking zone, too. Oh, the entry to it, though, Lukey Heights, I mean, we've talked about it a lot, Bill, in the past, but in case we do have new viewers, I mean, if they've never driven the Spec Racer Ford, tell us a little bit about the lift throttle oversteer, because I have a feeling we're probably going to be mentioning it a number of times.
Yeah, it seems like that would be a great name for a band in the 80s. You know, I got tickets to lift throttle oversteer, but yeah, you can steer this car as much with your foot, and I guess with your brake as well. But for me, you know, you get on the brake, it comes around. That's almost normal for any car. Here, when you actually get off the throttle, the rear end will come around because the front end will, the weight will move to the front. It's a weird thing for beginners. And again, I can talk because I'm even at this point of my racing career, I still am learning. The hardest thing to come around when this car starts to come around on you, your inclination is to lift off the throttle. That just makes it worse. You got to go on the throttle, get the weight balanced, and let the car stick. It's so fun because you drive it so much with your right foot.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about hopping in this thing. Low powered, but still you can really thrash it.
And I guess it's like that, Joe, on higher powered cars as well, but it's just so extreme in this one. It's a great learning car.
We're watching the number 11 there. Stevie Ray's managed to qualify it in 9th. Only about 4 minutes left, and we're just shy of a 2-minute lap around here. Fast drivers are doing 148s, with Antonio Reese currently on the pole. Alex Cofford, you see down there, currently in 13th. Cofford hopefully has recovered after a 2.5-hour race yesterday that he ran here on the channel.
Agreed. Interesting name. I see Travis Swanky. We see him a lot in the MX-5. Honestly, I can't ever remember doing an SRF race with Swanky in it. It's good to see him out here, sitting 4th and qualifying right now.
Yeah, not bad at all. So I guess those skills translate from a car that runs pretty similar pace at most tracks. Number 16 working his way around Siberia and towing along James Tabor, who's currently 6th out there. And between them, they do have a Spec 2 championship in this race. Now, it's not necessarily a championship, more of a race in itself, as they're trying to give something for drivers who aren't necessarily as fast, something to fight for. It's drivers under 3,000 iRating basically are scored as numbers 200 and above, if you see that on any of the cars listed. There you see Jeff Jacobson and the number 240. He is considered Spec 2. Anything below that is Spec 1.
I'm going to get in trouble on this one, but we got a sandbagger out there as far as iRating goes. The car number 211 of Donald Fitterer. What is his iRating?
He's actually just in there. He's still 2950.
Yeah, he's monitoring that one. He's really fast. For that 2950 is not really an appropriate label for him.
I'm glad that you brought him up because he was our Spec 2 champion in the regular Weekend Warriors series, which this is basically kind of a sister thing to this Week 13 event they do. Same cars, same tracks, essentially, as we ride on board with Fitterer. Currently his fastest of 47.3. Go ahead.
He was honestly for a while in the hunt for the overall championship. I think he finished like 4th or 5th overall. So yeah, he was an impressive racer indeed.
Trying to see who is our next Spec 2. Actually, it is Cofford.
Yeah.
In the number 219. And he's all the way down in 13th. He actually just had a bit of an off, hitting one of the embankments. And I'm glad that I noticed that, because that's always one of those features that I feel is almost kind of old school about this track, Bill, is those dirt embankments you have at certain places. That's kind of, isn't that what they used to do to keep spectators a little more safe? Is just to be a little bit of dirt to the side, keep the cars in there?
What we would put the parents in front and the children behind. That was our way of doing it. Hey, Sven Demmel is here. He hasn't put in a time yet. Hopefully he'll be able to get one in. If you don't know that name, he's really quick. He's is he out on the track? No, he's listed, but he's not racing. Come on, Sven.
He's at least in the session.
Yeah, he put in a practice time, didn't he?
Yeah. So I was hoping that he hadn't taken off. You know what? I suspect Sven is just going to take this, with this being a Week 13 race, he's just going to start from the back and see how far up he can climb. Just because he already had a number of wins over the course of the season. Didn't take the championship because he failed to show up, of course, but he was fast. I think he only lost one race that he showed up to all season, which is an incredible stat.
Yeah, and all he needs to do is get up probably to 12th position. He'll find himself in the lead pack, and then from there, do your work. It'd be fun to watch.
20 seconds left here in the qualifying. So we ride on board with Adam Bradshaw. Bradshaw currently all the way down to 19th. That's much farther down than what we've seen from Adam in the past. Must be struggling to get himself a clean lap with a toe. Let's see if this one does it with both Murakami and Doherty ahead of him. There's the checkered flag. So these three going to come across the line and complete. Big run there from Murakami. In fact, you don't want to touch the car ahead because you'll get a 0x and that'll nullify both laps. Bradshaw's last lap was not faster. Murakami's was faster to 47.6. That gets him up to 8th. Doherty also improves himself to 12th. Who else is coming across the line at the end here? Sometimes drivers tend to abandon. Sadro in 3rd is at the penultimate corner, but he's going to enter it into the pits. So Sadro's happy with that second row start, it seems.
Sadro was our champion. Am I correct on that? Remember
Yes,
I believe it is. Yeah.
Vince Ball coming around. He's currently last of the drivers to set a time, and he's only set one single time at a 54.1. Can he get another one in that's clean here? He certainly had a lot of offs out there. He does, and he goes down to a 51.1. I don't think that is going to get him above last in the field, though.
28 have signed up to race. 26 put in qualifying times. Waiting for William Marshall also needs to put in a time.
Here's our pole sitter, the 007. Doesn't really need to go faster, and he does not, as he is going to stay in first about 1.17 ahead of those behind. And I think that is it. Yes, indeed. That is all drivers having taken a lap. Bradshaw's already finished his, so this one will not count. He's just getting some warm-up from this point on. Well then, let's go through our starting grid and tell you how this field is going to look. Antonio Reese is going to be on the pole with Jairo Villa starting in 2nd place. Daniel Sadro will be P3 with Steve Elson starting in 4th. Travis Schwanke from the MX5 World Tour comes over to try his hand at the SRF. He'll start 5th. Donald Fitterer, maybe he can get an overall, not just a win in the Spec 2. He'll start 6th place overall. James DeBoer will be 7th with Chris Murakami in 8th. Stevie Ray, who organized this race, will be starting 9th. Jerry McAreevy, who was in the hunt for wins over the course of the season, rounds out your top 10.
In 11th, it is Dominic Barreau. He's going to be inside of Edward Doherty. The next row has Fred Desai and Ryan Walker. Then you get to a couple Spec 2 drivers as well. These are our 2nd and 3rd fastest, Alex Colford and Cauliflower Love. Jeff Jacobson in 17th position. Zachary LeVay is going to be outside of him. Row 10 is populated by Adam Bradshaw and Jim McGill. Joe?
21st will be Francois Van Dorenveld with Clark Williams starting 22nd. Darren Kuhn gets in 23rd. Gabe Nail starts P24. Gary Wolbolt starts 25th. And then the last driver to put a time in was Vince Ball, who we watched cross the line at 26. Sven Demmels is still in the session, so hopefully he will grid. And then William Marshall as well should be here. We'll see if those last 2 of the 28 cars who are signed up will actually take the grid today. It's a rolling start, as is usual, here in the big grid races behind the Porsche pace car. So we'll have time to watch them work their way around this beautiful track, and then there won't have any time to look at the scenery surrounding them. It really is on an island out here, and it really is right by the beach here in Australia. What a place for a racetrack, Bill.
It is indeed. Looks like a nice place. You want to take your wife for a nice picnic lunch. I can report the demo did actually put the car out on the track, so this is good news.
That'll definitely give us some excitement from all the way at the back. You see just how long this front stretch is. And don't forget that you're watching this on the iRacing Esports Network. When you get the opportunity, make sure and subscribe. All you got to do is go to their YouTube page if you're not there already. Click the big red button that says subscribe, and then you'll get the Weekend Warriors as well as many other series in your YouTube feed.
Antonio Reese, clearly the fastest qualifier. Obviously, I mean, he's sitting at the top, but there's a nice interval between him, almost 0.2 seconds between him and Via. Meanwhile, Via, Sadro, Elson, Swanky, those guys are all pretty much have mirrored times. Not that qualifying means much here. At least you're out in front, though, away from any trouble that may happen. If it does, it's going to happen behind you.
This is true. But I think that even with that gap, that Via is probably going to be able to stay with Reese, just because that doesn't seem like enough of a difference between them in the twisty bits. So we watch them work their way out of the southern loop up towards Honda. You talked about a little bit in your track description, how it can be a little bit dangerous. It doesn't look like it, but we've seen it cause so many problems in past races.
Yeah, well, I talked about it not so much here. This is pretty much a hairpin, but so often the pass isn't finished. So unless we can watch the leaders work their way around the corner, they head up through 5, which is basically nothing, into 6, which is Siberia. Between 4 and 6, anything can happen through there. They're too wide. They work it out. Then they come up here. Then out of Siberia, then they go up the hill. And they can still work on it, but I'm telling you, you can go too wide through Lukey Heights, but you shouldn't go too wide through Lukey Heights because I've seen bad things happen more often than not.
Certainly, I have to agree. That is a difficult corner to maximize, and just about every car I've driven it in up towards the top. Did find out earlier this year that second part of the S's actually has a name. I'm not sure why the first part doesn't, but that is apparently called Hayshed, I am told.
I like
and
that.
Then you come into Lukey Heights, where they are now, up to the highest part of the circuit, and then you immediately plunge right back down. Look at that drop, that crest, incredibly blind, out over into the braking of MG. And then you come around the penultimate turn, and then into Swan, where the pace car is going to peel off into the pit entry, and Reese is going to have control of the field. Let's see how long he waits before he takes the green flag. He's already stretching out a little bit, and I think he's accelerated away. We are racing here at Phillip Island for the Big Grid Race, Week 13 for the vRunoffs. Down the front stretch, he's pulling a little bit of a gap to Via, who's got Sadro to his inside as they come to up to Duan. And then in between them, watch out, because here comes Steve Elson. He's going to back out of it. And then through that quick right-hander, it looks like a lot of single-file racing very early.
Really single file. I'm really surprised. Really clean as they go up into the southern loop now.
In the end, it was Via who came out ahead of Elson, but Sadro lost out to Elson through that second corner. Now they work their way through Stoner. Behind Sadro, Federer is currently under attack from Travis Schwanke. Everybody accordion together.
Boy, you want a definition of the accordion effect? That's it right there. But they work it all the way through. Now heading to Siberia.
Yeah, I did not see any spins in there. Everybody nice and clean. This has been one of the calmest starts for a big grid race we've seen in a long time. Our leader, Reese, there at the front in the yellow and black machine, being chased by the green car of Jairo Villa. And even though he's fallen back by about half a second, even though there isn't much draft on the backstretch, he is getting closer and closer to the gearbox. Now through Lukey Heights, Steve Elson gaining, going a little bit wide, but coming back to the racing line.
Our demo watch Sven is up into 22nd position, and the string goes all the way back that far, as it has not broken yet.
Curious to see at what point we will see a break in the train. They come around to complete the first lap of this timed race, 40 minutes again, that they are racing here today. Could we see a pass for the lead? Because Jairo Villa already looking to the inside. He's completely past Reese. I don't think it's over yet, though, because here comes Elson, considering splitting the middle. He's up to the outside of Villa, coming into Duan, and I think he's going to back out of it.
That's good news for Chris Murakami in 6th position. He's beginning to lose touch with Donald Fitterer, our top Spec 2 driver, racing in 5th.
Oh, and I think we had an incident on the front stretch.
Jacobson.
This was, Jacobson and Bradshaw, interestingly.
Little bit of a bump draft attempted by Jacobson.
And you're going to see... You're going to see a yellow and blue car take to the grass to avoid them. That is none other than Sven Demmel, who narrowly escaped disaster.
What's interesting, this is Jacobson who starts the bump, and he ends up paying for it as well. Because Bradshaw comes back and, all right, I'll get you. Since you started it, I'm going to take you out as well.
I don't think that was intentional.
No, not intentional. It's just
look
the
at
racing
Demmel.
gods serving justice.
Let's watch from Sven's perspective. Goes completely into the grass, sees what's unfolding, wants no part of it. Great instincts from the multi-time winner and the 23. He's currently in 21st position, though. I think he actually lost a spot. Oh, okay. We had a car tow in, so he's effectively in 20th. It just our time of scoring gets momentarily screwed up.
All right, our pole sitter starting to use that speed that he had to break away from the guys chasing him.
That's Via. That's our second place starter. Yeah. He's running away from what is now Sadro, who split the middle between Reese and Fitterer. Excuse me, Reese and Elson. Elson now getting into third position behind him. They got to hustle because they're about 7/10 behind Via at this point. We're only on lap 3 of this race. Coming up to Stoner for the third time now. See if they can gain some ground under braking.
I talked about Murakami, he'd losing touch. Well, he's back up there in 6th. He brought Travis Swanky with him. Now the gap is 8th position. James Tabor trying to hang on to the back of the train.
You tried to say James Taylor, didn't you?
I did.
So as we ride on board with Murakami, Schwenke, interestingly, is the one immediately behind him. Travis actually very close and threatening a little bit. There you can see in the number 16 was just under the gearbox, backed off of it now that they've gotten into Lukey Heights. Only car getting out of line up there is Antonio Reese in the 4th position. Doesn't manage an overtake, but otherwise everybody just staying put.
That's our pole sitter now. He's fallen back into 4th position. Now, note here, as they come out of Swan, I talked about it in the pre-race show, how far down the start-finish line is. You're not going to see anybody get ahead of Via right now. He's got such a gap. But look how far it is. Plenty of time. Right there it is.
Yeah, curious to see if we see any slingshots to the line with these drivers. Sadro's regained the ground up to Jairo Villa. So no more crisis there for our top runners. We are starting to get that gap back between Fitterer and what is now Schwenke as he's overtaken Murakami for 7th position. Looks like Sadro's going to try and go for it. Via takes to what is the outside of Stoner, but will switch back to the inside, and he gets back in line, so he won't get the inside into Honda. Still a bit of a battle behind them between Schwenke and Murakami. You can just see in the background. Schwenke is going to manage to keep Murakami behind.
Right on board, looking back. This is the part of the race where I always peek back to see if I have any hard chargers. We talked about Demmel, but we know what he's done. But for the most part, Joe, everyone racing within a spot or two of where they started. All the way back to like 20th.
This is highly unusual for a spec racer Ford big grid. There you see confirmation right there. Demmel really the most. He's gotten up to 17th, 7 positions up. There's a little bit of side-by-side action down into MG there.
All pretty much 1s and 2s, either pluses or minuses.
Wonder if everybody knows the game so well now that nobody's really all that interested in trying to make a charge. Meanwhile, there's our leaders once more. Via pulling the move back on Sadro that happened last time. He's going to be fully clear before the line, it looked like. Did he lead that? Yes, he did. So there's our answer, Bill, yeah.
And what's going on right now with Via and Sadro, they can count. And they know that it's 5 cars right now. The caboose is Fitterer And it's almost a second and a half back to Schwenke, who's in 6th. Now he's in jeopardy of losing the lead train.
1.5 seconds separate 5th and 6th position. This is really bad news for the number 16. You can see the gap on screen between them.
I know this is old news for veterans who watch racing, but for newcomers, that leapfrog, if what Via and Reese are doing up front, right? Well, now Reese has moved up into 2nd. If they can swap without slowing each other down as they go through Duhan, they pick up 3 or 4 car lengths because of that. The trick is to make sure that you get it done.
Oh, Elson not only goes off, but he starts to lose control. He captures it before he gets into the barrier, but he loses a ton of time. And I think Donald Fitterer, because of that, got scared away. He's lost ground up to Sadro. Let's watch on board the black and gold car of Elson just understeered off.
This is impressive, though. Once you get off on that slippery grass, to be able to keep the car without having to come around on you.
So did Elson lose too much time? Did Fitterer lose too much time? Because Fitterer is actually farther away from Sadra than Elson is to Fitterer. It's about 9/10 of a second to 3rd place. This is going to be a crucial lap or two for Donald.
Yeah, the leaders are going to leapfrog again, but yeah, Fitterer's got to be really careful.
Down and around Duhan. Has not gained time. It is still stuck at about 9/10 of a second. Yeah, I'm trying to remember which race it was. It might have been the Weekend Warriors here. I was corrected by Australians that the first corner, they call it Duhan. So I've been trying to oblige.
I can get out of that.
Yeah. It's that Australian accent that I unfortunately don't have. So got some side-by-side action for 14th position, 13th position really, between Desai and Love coming into Honda. Still wheel to wheel into this corner, and I think C Love's going to take it.
He does indeed, and he'll go through corner number 6. He's got about, oh my goodness, oh, there's an off in front of him. Doherty makes a mistake, so that might be good for Love. He's going to be able to gobble him up, use him as a stepping stone to work his way up maybe to Walker in 11th.
Absolutely. Ooh, and here comes Demel behind them, and he's got his teammate Cofford running with him. So that's really bad news for everybody, with Demel up to 15th and already gaining on the top few. Oh, Reese with a problem. Off at MG.
And he collected a little bit of the car behind him as well. That was Sadro.
Yeah. These are cars you do not want to damage the aero on, even though they don't require it for downforce. It's going to hurt you in a straight line.
Via in the citrus-flavored car in 3rd does a good job avoiding it.
Yeah, just sees it happening. Let's see from Sadro's position. Maybe that'll help kind of explain why he chose the way he did. Maybe he saw him swinging off to the right first, and then figured he would stay there. Yeah, just a very late change in direction, unfortunately.
Well, this is good news for Travis Swanky now, who is in shouting distance of Fitterer, who's now in 2nd position. Swanky was losing touch. Sadro got blown by. He had no straight line speed out of Swan. They just went by him like, waved at him and said, man, let's get going. I think he'll be okay in the draft, but I don't think he's gonna have a hard time pulling out and going around anybody.
Whoa! James Tabor finds himself not in the place he wants to be in Siberia. So as he finally escapes the gulag and gets back on the track, let's see what happened and caused this. Just all on his own. There's that lift throttle oversteer.
And while at the same time that was going on, Demel had caught up to C Love and made the pass in Honda, went a little bit wide, went out on the grass, lost some time.
Is that what the C stands for? Caught Love?
There you go. The joke is He was so poor as a kid, his parents couldn't afford a full first name. They had to only give him a letter.
Meanwhile, Dimmel is chasing Tabor, who we saw just had a spin. There's some damage on the front of the number 23, some big damage. He's still running a good pace in spite of that. And no surprises as to who our first pitter is, Bill. Without looking at your time and scoring, who do you think it is?
I don't know. Who would it be?
Stevie
Oh,
Ray.
Stevie Ray, of course. Stevie Ray, yeah. I just have got that one.
Always loves to take the early stop. At his MO,
He
and the
does.
number 11 is back out on track.
You know, they have the Spec 2 championship. Look at this, Donald Fitter, again, he's a Spec 2 driver. He's looking to get the overall win. He's sitting in second.
Oh, and Murakami behind them with a big wreck. He gets Steve Elson. This is coming out of Honda. I think we got the replay.
Yeah, it was Elson who got loose first, and when Elson came around, he clipped Murakami in the left rear, and that sent that candy-looking machine over.
Oof. He landed on his wheels, but he is crabbing badly. So he'll have to come in and take a spare car and hope that he can try and get back going once again. This is from onboard, the view of Elson as the car starts to go away. Such a helpless feeling.
Elson sorts out into 8th, so he's still out there.
We've seen two cars now really lose it completely on their own. But I'm looking at the weather conditions, and it doesn't look all that tricky out there. It's only 7 to 8 degrees on the track. So we got some more pitters.
Here's what I talked about. It's Daniel Sadro. I talked about this in the opening as well. When you combine the fast repair with the mandatory pit stop or the restricted fuel, Sadro got that damage. He's going to be able to come in, probably get that fixed, I would think, or at least helped. Hopefully it won't cost him too much time. Elson right behind him too, coming in, doing the same thing.
We just need to start calling that pulling a little train after Callisto in the majors.
Yeah. Lionel Callisto, known for doing that.
Fitterer stayed out, so did Villa. Schwanke still going as well up at the front. So go ahead, Bill.
Sadro comes out. He's our leader of all the cars who've pitted. He's way back in 18th.
I would say we'll see if this was a mistake or not, but with the damage on the front of that SRF, I think he had no choice but to come in early and get that fixed. Where is Dimmel now? Go ahead.
Oh, I just tell you, the guy who's having a lot. Can we go to 11th? This is C. Love again. He has been in a fight all the time. Now he's being passed. They were just too wide through Siberia. That's Zachary LeVay. They've been going at it. Love has just had his handful from the front, from the back, from the left, from the right. They're coming from all angles. He's up several positions.
Well, now he's down one more.
From 10th position, Alex Colford spins. He was making a run through the field. Now he falls back to 13.
As we stay with this battle, you can see the HJ Motorsports car gets back out on track. Don't have to go there, but just want to update. Dimmel also took an early stop. We saw the damage on his car. I suspect his reasoning was involved with that. Onto the front stretch. Is LeVay going to get passed right back? Here comes C. Love. He's got a good run. The toe has him within a car length. Now he's fully beside. And easy pickings for the number 264. Looks like Jim McGill going to take a stop. Another driver with damage on his spec racer.
So this goes on. Now we have 3 cars out in front, Joe, but it could be a little bit. That's maybe not really the true story of it because we have some guys who've pitted. We'll see how that plays out.
It all depends on how their pace compares to these drivers. We'll check on that in a little bit once they get some laps in between the pit stops and what's been happening.
Leader of all the cars who've pitted is Sadro.
They're up at the top of Lukey Heights now. And again, this is Via up at the front in the green machine, Fitterer in the black and white, and Travis Schwenke in the deep blue. Right on board with Travis now. Let's see what our top speed can get up to with the draft, the help of 2 cars punching a hole in the air. Little Ford engine getting wound up. And Fitterer is going to get a nice run on our leader. Is he going to push him? Yes, he is. Going to be a nice bump draft.
It's going to help with top speed.
Number 23, 24, 25, 27, 128 miles an hour. Not bad for a tiny little machine. I know I would be a little bit scared if I was in an open cockpit car like that. Going that fast along. Might not sound like much, but these are tiny little things.
4.2 seconds, the interval between Schwenke in 3rd and McAreevy in 4th. Poor Jerry McAreevy is out there all by himself. He has no dancing partner.
He did start in 10th. Now, some of that is a little bit off because of the pit stops, but he's up a number of positions. There's the 67 around Siberia and up to the high part of the circuit. We're almost halfway through now. Still, Sadro is our highest pitter. A number of drivers have yet to come in, are trying to run this one long.
About 35 seconds between Sadro and Via. I honestly don't think Sadro is going to be able to get up there unless Via and Fitterer and Schwenke do something really silly when they come in for their pit stop.
Elson just took a toe for some reason.
Oh, he banged. He put it in the wall. I think he got hung up on the berm here.
Ooh, it looks like it was out of the southern loop. Just a little bit of the grass. Once again, that's what caused issues for him before. I don't know if he was hung up, but he probably took some damage from that hit from the berm. And he's not come back out, so Elson's day is done.
He had his share of excitement so far in these first 20 minutes. That's Elson's story. I've done enough of these races. No, Elson is really quick. His problem is getting the car to the end.
Still waiting for these top 3 to come in and pit. Added one more in. Zachary LeVay, who we saw battling with C. Love, has pitted. Love continues on. Demmel's up to 16th, and he's got his pit stop done. Actually, how far back is he from Sadro? Ooh.
He's about 5 seconds behind Sadro, about 41 from the guys up front. Swin had a tough time making it through the field. It was
I tell you what, C. Love does not mind battling here in these races because he's in another one, and it's with Antonio Reese this time. Little bit of damage on the 264 though, as they go side by side up through the S's. While Reese might be asking, what is Love? Love is hoping he don't hurt him. They hit Lukey Heights, and he's going to have to stay behind.
Nice reference, Joe. Proud of you.
I didn't get a giggle out of our director at first. I was worried.
Okay, let's stay on these guys a little bit as they work through Swan. Oh, well, I guess we don't have to as he's off in the grass. Oh, what?
The other one pits.
Reese is going to come in there.
Everything happens all at once. Reese still with a little bit of damage on the left rear. We'll probably take a spare car. And he had fallen back, so he's going to be easily passed by Sadro. In fact, I guess he would come out around Stevie Ray and Zachary LeVay. So there goes Sadro, our lead pitter. as Antonio Reese, who I'm watching to see where he's going to come out. He was our pole sitter, but after his pit stop, he's all the way down in 19th position.
I think Demel got him too.
Well, we got him by a long shot. Yeah.
Now, up front, you might want to be wondering, you know, is there an advantage to leading or not? Now, there's a couple of things you got to think about. Schwenke's back there has yet to lead much. He's been saving fuel. If they need to come in theory, they all start with the same amount of fuel, but Schwenke should have a little more in his tank. His stop will be a little shorter. Also, though, when it's pit stop time, you'll see these guys try to get up to the front. They'd like to be first down pit lane.
And we know Schwenke is very familiar with this sort of pitch strategy from the MX5 World Tour. Wasn't Travis, though, the one that tended to short fill it accidentally?
Travis has a spreadsheet from NASA that he knows exactly how much fuel to put in. It is amazing. All you have to do is enter in the track, the car, and the amount of you going, and the day of the week, and what the cycle of the moon is, and it'll tell you exactly how much fuel you need.
Boy, Lord help us if NASA gets involved in motor racing. That'd be a hard group to compete with.
Oh, they'd be tough.
Ryan Walker has now taken his stop, and actually he's going to come out somewhat comparable to Sadro. I think he's going to be just ahead, no, just behind Sven Demel. There you see that flash of yellow and blue to the left was Sven, who's now up to 12th with more pit stops having taken place.
Demel 41 back, making no inroads as time-wise goes with the leader. Running equal pace with them, but, you know, when you're 41 seconds back, you're going to need a little help.
Yeah, I think we've had enough laps. Why don't let's see if we can take a look at the comparison between Sadro and Via. Now that we've got a good comparison since then to see if he's losing time or gaining time. It can be real subtle sometimes. And it looks like Sadro is lower, yeah.
Not look good for him. And here we go. Our first bite.
So Fitterer stays out, but Via is in and Schwenke is in. How much did Sadro lose? He's coming around Lukey Heights right now, just as our two leaders are heading for their pit stalls.
Remember, Sadro qualified third, but he ran into damage. He was falling back. He had to come in to get those repairs done.
They were free, though. Remember, he had a spare car.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And Schwenke's already out, ahead of Via by a long ways. By 3 seconds difference in the pit stops. Look at this.
NASA, baby, NASA.
And Sadro did lose out a lot. Via is already into doing just as Sadro's coming up to the entry now. There you see the gap. Look from onboard Daniel's view. Barely see the speck of Hyro up ahead of him.
Schwenke knows what's going on. Plus, he spent all that time in the draft. And there's a bit of randomness when it comes to putting in fuel as well.
This is true. Yeah, I don't think we ever saw Travis really make an aggressive charge, so he had to have been lifting quite a bit. 13 minutes left to go with a 4-second gap over Hyro Via. Travis Schwenke is looking very, very good. How amazing would that be? His first time coming out to this big grid, and he snatches the win away from all the regulars.
Underpowered car is an underpowered car. Okay, here comes Fitterer.
Can Fitterer try and match him? That's the question. Fitterer was pushing our leader a fair amount. That could suck up fuel too.
McAreevy, Doherty coming in as well, as does Desai. They're all coming in.
That's everybody. So this will give us our order. There's your leader. There's Travis Schwenke in the number 16 coming up to Swan. He is effectively racing Donald Fitterer, who's in his stall already. Ooh, wow, Fitterer with a lightning fast stop, 9.8 seconds. Was that too fast, or did he just mark his fuel absolutely dead on?
By the time he gets going, I think Swanky's going to get him. He's right there. Okay, they were nose to tail when they came in, so that makes it look as Swanky really wants this.
What's interesting about this, though, is that Schwenke was a second faster in his pit stall. Or excuse me, Donald was faster as he goes a little wide coming through the southern loop. So Donald should have been about a second ahead, unless the pit in and pit out laps were that different.
Well, there's that little bit of area. We talked about it in the pre-race. When you get off the track, there's time to be made between track exit and the slowdown cones.
Bad news for them.
2.7 seconds back to Via.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Jairo could yet run them down. If he's got the pace, doesn't matter what you got in the pit stops, because as soon as he gets within that draft, he is going to be on top of these two. We ride on board with our leader, looking back over his shoulder at Donald Fitterer, and then off in the distance, that tiny little dot is Jairo Villa, the number 24.
He's got McAreevy back there as well, does Jairo, so he's got somebody who can help him.
Wow, Jerry made up a lot of time in this. I'm impressed at how much he's jumped up. I said he started in 10th. He's still in 4th now that pit stops have finished. And ahead of Sadro by about 3.5 seconds himself. Daniel's got to be wondering what could have been in this race.
And behind Sadro is Demel. I'm telling you, Joe, if Demel didn't run into trouble, you would have had a chance to get through the field.
Okay, here's where it gets interesting. Schwenke was on the radio with Fitterer just now, telling him to go, and Fitterer did not go. He wants him to leapfrog him. He thinks he could find more pace in this, but he didn't get it that time, and Jairo's down to 2.5 seconds now.
Yeah, well, remember, Fitterer was in there for a second less, so it might be a case of somebody not having enough fuel.
Well, if Fitterer is saving, and if Schwenke needs to save too, then Schwenke's really in trouble.
Oh, I don't think so. I think Schwenke's good. I think Fitterer's probably happy where he is right now. They'll mind the gap. 2.2, 2.3 back to Via.
He is coming.
Oh, yes, indeed.
And a nice little battle in the mid-pack if we want to jump back to Doherty in 8th place. James DeBoer, Fred Desai, 3 cars running in a train as they hit the top of the course. We'll see if any of them wants to make a move. And did something happen to C Love just now? I see him suddenly in the pits.
Yeah, he got loose in Siberia and put it off in the grass. He was racing with McGill.
I think this was in the southern loop. Yeah, this is the southern loop.
Oh, what's the southern loop? Sorry. Wrong left-hander.
He was just out in the gray stuff, and unfortunately, once the car went around on him, he decided that was enough. But there you see our 2 leaders, and once again, Fitterer stays behind, but this time he does give a bump draft.
See the interval between Fitterer and Via. That's the one you want to watch.
And Sven,
that's the one Schwenke and Fitterer watch.
Sven Dibbel just set the fastest lap of the race out of anybody at a 46.7. Wow, he must have gotten an incredible tow on that lap, because I'm looking at the other laps surrounding it.
He had Vince Ball in front of him down the straight. Vince is a lap down in 26th position. Dibbel got behind him and said, all right, let's go. Now he's only 0.8 of a second behind Sadro. Wouldn't be the worst thing for Sadro to have Dibbel go around him.
This is true. Man, what a climb by the 23 up to 6th spot. 9 seconds behind the overall leader after all is said and done, even with damage on the car at one point. Here's the top 2 once again. Dark blue car of Travis Schwenke leading the way, but it has been cut down to 2.1 seconds to Jairo Villa who seems to have the pace over these two.
I'll tell you, McAreevy back there has been helping Via as much as he can. I saw him bump draft a few times. Let's see if he does it again out of Swan. This will be interesting to see if McAreevy makes the pass or gets behind Via and just pushes him again.
Yeah, I'm thinking there are no allegiances here. So as soon as McAreevy uses him to get up to the front,
here he goes.
He's no longer friends with Hyro.
He moves up into third, and the interval is still under 2 seconds. They're coming.
So is Hyro going to get back around him, though, or is he going to wait behind the now infamous green and white car of Jerry McAreevy?
Demel got Sadro. Happened so fast we couldn't cover it. Demel up to fifth now.
Up to, yeah, P5 and 3/10 between them. I think Sadra is just going to ride these coattails. And I was right. Via is going to get by Jerry McAreevy into Honda.
Oh,
meanwhile, I think Fitterer has decided he has enough fuel.
Well, the gap is down to a second now. Via and McAreevy are coming. Well, at least Via's coming. Come on, Jerry. Stay with him.
Lost about half a second there. So Donald Fitterer out of Honda and into Siberia is now your new leader. And again, Fitterer is a Spec 2 driver. And his I rating is low enough for that. This is not just a leftover for him. Coming around MG, it is now down to 1 second. I think Via is there now. 8/10 as they hit the front stretch. This number is going to continue to shrink. Five minutes left to go on the clock to decide this 40-minute race. Oh, and Travis Schwenke must have lined things up perfectly because they pulled about 2/10 on Via, gapping him a little bit. That is surprising.
Oh, but he's within 4 car lengths now.
Wonder if we could also get a look at the difference between Demel's and Via's lap times. Because is Demel closing as well?
Yeah, he's going to run out of time.
To get this?
Yeah, no, he doesn't. He needs another 10 minutes of racing. Look, unless these guys... Oh, we're going to get together. Schwenke's going around. They get together with Via, but they keep it going. This is good news for Demel. That's exactly what he needs to get in the hunt.
Contact.
McAreevy goes up into 4th.
Contact in a Honda corner. Schwenke just got mugged. Let's watch from Via's perspective. Man, how in the world did he send this in here? I can understand why Schwenke just turned in. Probably looked back in the braking zone and didn't even think that he saw a car, and then suddenly, hello. In the meantime, Fitterer is now about a second ahead of this group.
That was a pretty good shot to Via's car as well. Let's hope he has some straight line speed here. Fitterer has 1.2 seconds of a gap between him and Via.
Yeah, that could be far enough away that he's broken the draft a little bit. McAreevy, though, has a clean car, remember, and he's going to use the slingshot. He's going to move himself into second. Schwenke's going to try and get by the car who nearly took him out into Honda last lap. Looks like Via's going to retain the inside coming down into the southern loop, and he will stay P3. Taking just a glance back at Demel, and he is hustling the car, maybe a little too much even, because he got loose through this southern loop, and I think he's going to lose a position to Sadro now.
Oh my goodness. Via almost tried it again through Honda, almost got into McAreevy. McAreevy able to, well, he doesn't know how close he came to getting turned.
Well, he gave space at the apex, so he was aware that the green car was coming. Maybe he saw what happened last time, decided to give just a little bit of wiggle room to everybody to make sure they all get to the finish. But this is not helping them catch Donald Fitterer. The Spec 2 driver continues to lead and continues to extend the gap, which is now up to 1.4.
Our next best Spec 2 driver down in 17th position. We don't need to go there, but Francois van Dornveld.
Man, I think you're right. It just does not seem fair. Fitterer has just got incredible speed, and ooh, this is going to be really tight on. I think we got 2 laps to go. Yes, I believe we should be 2 laps to go here because it was right on the edge, and iRacing tends to not like that. Murakami, in the meantime, is headed into the pits. I think he had a problem a lot earlier.
Got loose in Honda. The car was perpendicular and
just called it a day, I guess.
Yeah, he got it back out on the road, but maybe, yeah. Oh, he was blinking. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it could have been just connection issues, like you mentioned. So sad to see him not see the checkered flag so close to things, but side-by-side action on screen between Schwanke and McAreevy down in a Honda corner once again. This is the spot where tickets are going to be hot, I think. And it's going to be McAreevy who comes out in second. Schwanke third. Via hiding in 4th position overall, but 3rd in the train that you're looking at.
McAreevy got a hard time getting up to Fitter, but honestly, what a great run from him. This is going to feel like a win for Jerry if he can hold on to second.
Well, things have gotten weird behind them too. Demmel, I'm not sure if he's continuing to push too hard, but he's fallen back now to 5.5 seconds behind them. It was as low as 4.5 before. So either he's short on fuel or maybe he was fighting some more with Sadro, but something's wrong with the 23.
Okay, our leader coming out, going through Swan for the next to the last time. He'll get the white flag. Oh, we'll see. All right, we're going to see if it's going to be
pretty certain, yeah, that we should get the white flag.
Well,
clock's ticking down. It's going to be awful tight. And white flag is out. I think he crossed it right when it went to 0.
Well, that's good news for him. That's one less lap he has to hold back McAreevy. It's down to 0.8 of a second. 0.7. Oh, he's coming. He's there. Oh, Jerry.
And McAreevy loses it. And I think he just lets it go off into the gravel to save the car. So how many of these drivers accounted for this extra lap as well?
I think McAreevy knows it's a white flag lap. This is for fun. Let's see how fast I can go through the southern loop and keep the car on the pavement. Now we know.
So as we ride on board with Via, still chasing Schwanke, who's now in second. Via in third. Demmel gets promoted to 4th because of McAreevy's problems. Fitterer leading by 1.1 seconds. If he's got the fuel, he's got the pace, I think, to hold on to this. Sun continues to set out here. Down into MG for the final time. They've got a little bit of lap traffic ahead, but that is not nearly close enough to be a concern for Donald Fitterer. He comes into Swan Corner as the battle starts to get closer behind him, but let's watch our leader. Because up to the line, the number 211 would have been fighting for the Spec 2 win, but he's gonna go for the overall win. Your winner is Donald Fitterer. Second place behind them is gonna go to Via, ahead of Schwanke. Just barely. Demmel manages to beat Sadro home. Got a battle for 10th place. And a car out of fuel. Stevie Ray. Oh, he cut it too tight. He's coasting to the line as Antonio Reese is now going to take 9th place. Far enough ahead to hold back Clark Williams just behind him. And Edward Doherty as well, finding himself in 11th. Let's take a look at that finish for second place.
That's Swanky out in front.
Really surprised that Via managed to pull this off, because look how tight he was. Usually you want to get a nice slingshot. And at the line, it looks to be 2/100ths of a second, less than 2/100ths of a second. Incredible stuff. Let's see what happened to McAreevy. Did he get a touch, maybe a ghost contact, or did he just spin it on his own?
Oh, we're not
Looks like we won't get to see the replay, unfortunately. A little bit of technical issues, so we'll take a look at that ourselves and report back to you later. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around, because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Phillip Island. We just watched the Week 13 vRunoffs big grid race here for the SRFs. Before we get to the results, though, we've figured out how to find that replay with Jerry McAreevy's incident, since we really didn't have time at the end to give it a good look. Now, we did find out that nobody touched him. We're riding on board with him now. He's the first in this train of three. He's riding in second place as they come up to Doohan. Schwanke's behind. Via is third in line. And he comes in a little shallow, but I don't know, Bill. You still think that he's just trying to take it as fast as possible?
Yeah. This is a mistake that Jerry McAreevy would not make if this was a points event. He would take his second place points and go home. Yeah, I think he could see where he was trying to go. He knew he was running out of laps. That's a last-ditch effort. Good job on him.
He gave us some excitement But let's talk about the winners then. Donald Fitterer, both the overall winner and the Spec 2 winner here today. That is impressive. I guess we could say that Hyrovia is our Spec 1 winner, technically, even though he finished second. But Travis Schwanke finished behind him third overall with Sven Demmel. Didn't put a qualifying time in to see what he could do. He finished fourth in the end. Not too bad. He was 5.5 seconds behind the leaders after all was said and done. Daniel Sadro, I think that damage really scuppered his chances today. He finishes fifth. Ryan Walker takes P16, having climbed from 14th. And then Fred Desai, similar climb from 13th to 7th. James DeBoer finishes 8th. Our pole sitter, only 9th for him. Clark Williams rounds out your top 10.
Williams with a nice run, 22nd to 10th. Good job from him. These guys all finished about where they started here. Edward Doherty, Stevie Ray had issues. He's going to finish 3 spots behind where he started in 12th. Alex Colford, Zachary LeVay. Then I get to the guy, sentimental winner here, at least for the Spec 2s. He doesn't get credit for it. He finishes in 15th position. Francois Van Zornveld. He is our second best Spec 2 driver, ahead of Adam Bradshaw. Now here's a couple more Spec 2 guys. Jeff Jacobson and Darren Kuhn. They go 17th and 18th, 19th and 20th. A couple more Spec 2 guys. Jerry Wilborn and William Marshall. Joe?
Gary McAreevy was scored 21st because he did not finish his last lap. And then you've got Dominique Bureau in 22nd and Jim McGill in 23rd. Vince Ball, who we saw qualify at the end of the field, did come home and saw the checkered flag, but he was a lap down. He was 24th. Chris Murakami, the first of our DNFs, 25th place. C-Love, 26th. Stephen Elson, 27th. And Gabe Nail in 28th. We've got drivers to talk to, including our winner for the event, Donald Fitterer, who we mentioned a little bit ago, not just the winner, but winner in Spec 2 as well. You've doubled up today, Donald. Were you expecting that at all? Because that was quite amazing.
Thanks. No, I was not expecting it at all. I knew I was hoping I'd do top 5, but to have those guys crash and have Gyro be my wingman, man, that was awesome.
Talk to us about the pit stops, because you had, I believe, actually the fastest stop of anybody. Were you saving fuel essentially since the start, or how did you get it out so quick?
Well, during the practice, I checked out how much fuel I really needed and did a test run all the way for 40 minutes. And when I crossed the line in the race, it was sputtering. So I had the perfect amount of fuel.
Were you made nervous at all by the what seemed like a little bit of an extra lap? Do you think that you were going to get that extra lap in?
Well, what's really funny, Joe, is I said, okay, I'm either going to win or I'm going to be really far back.
Yeah, I guess win it or bin it is not a bad philosophy in these one-off races. Well, congratulations. We have been talking about maybe they'll change the Spec 2 limit there, because the Spec 2 winning overall was a bit unusual, but still made us smile up in the booth. Congratulations.
Well, thanks. And I was really working hard with the guys that I was with to make sure that Sven didn't catch us, and he got up to 4th. And so that's why I wasn't passing it.
Oh, that explains a lot as well. We were watching him. That was Donald Fitterer, our winner here today. I believe we've got third place finisher Travis Schwanke. Since Soup is very familiar with Travis, I'll let him talk to him.
I do. Just to drill down a little bit on that, Joe, if you think about it, Fitterer was about 5 or 6 seconds away from having to go an extra lap, and he would have run out of fuel, right? That's remember that white flag was right at the he was able to cross just in time. Travis, let's start early. First of all, I don't know if I've ever seen you in SRF before. Do you have much experience in these?
I've run it a few times in a few exhibition things and such, but I've never really done much in the official series. I've ran a few races, I think, maybe Lime Rock and some other stuff, but not much. I really like the car, though. It drives a lot like my real car, my front-wheel drive, so it's, you know, the off-throttle oversteer and such. It's very similar, so it takes me a few laps to get back into it, but once I do, I really love this car.
You have the numbers calculated on this one so you can do fuel like you do for the MX-5, or is it not quite the same?
I don't, and I just let JRT do the thing. I kind of looked at him a little bit and knew what I needed. I did take a little extra, and thankfully I did, but oh man, he was so close to going an extra lap, and I think a lot of us would have been in trouble if he did.
All right, let's go ahead and get you to the into Honda Corner there. It's an exhibition race, so it really doesn't matter. But that was a bit of a late move, huh?
I look back and it was like 6/10, and I was just going to take a nice late apex and make it smooth. The car likes to rotate there, so I know I left the door open, so maybe it was part on me. But he was so far back, and after that really smooth start, I figured, oh, no one's going to come in from that far back, and then he was there, and thankfully he kind of hit me again and straightened me back up. So
get you down to the very last drive out of Swan for the what eventually ended up to be a third place finish. Interesting when I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, he was so close behind you. I didn't think he was going to get there because he didn't have much of a slingshot, but he managed to just grunt the car.
Yeah, I messed up my gosh corner, so I came out of MG a little bad, and that gave him a little bit of a run. I tried the inside line, and pinch it all the way in, maybe thinking he wasn't thinking I was going to do that, but yeah, he had a run that started back there pretty much. So
great to see you racing it. Congratulations on third place. We'll see you down the road and whatever else we're covering here on GSRC.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I got to thank Steve too, and I might have broken a rule. Steve gave me a setup to use, and I beat him with it. I don't know if that's allowed, but I'll talk to Steve. So.
All right, Travis Funky, third place today, Joe.
Up next, we've got sixth place finisher Ryan Walker. And Ryan, you didn't get a whole lot of screen time, I'll have to be honest, but I think it's understandable because even though you were racing some cars at the beginning, once the pit stops happened, I'm looking back at your race and it looked a little lonesome out there.
Yeah, it was a bit lonely. For most of the race. Well, the early stages of the race was kind of just went with the plan of just settling down and just doing my own thing. And if someone was quicker than me, I would just let them go and just wait until the pit stop to try and gain some track position. And managed to get some clear air before the pit stop, and managed to come back out in clear air and gain some track position. And ended up finishing. I think it was P6 I ended up finishing, which I'm quite happy with, considering I'm still getting to grips with the SRF. So, quite happy with that. And also big thanks to Steve Ray for putting this thing together, and you guys for putting on the broadcast as well.
Thank you very much. And we're glad Stevie Ray brought this back yet again for another season. Tell us, though, we were talking at the top of the broadcast a little bit how it used to be much more limited choices for what tracks you could use for a big grid race just due to pit stalls. But now the choices are much more open. What is a track that you would like to see that you don't think you've seen done in these week 13 races yet?
A track I would like to see. I'm not sure. It's a difficult one, to be honest. I mean, I like to see one of these races maybe around a track like maybe Daytona, for example, just because it's a mixture. You've got the infield section, but you've also got the big, you've got long straights as well. So I think anyway, a track like Daytona would spice up.
I actually like that suggestion. That is a good one for this one. Well, you managed to get sixth spot. Congratulations on getting within the top 10. That is not a bad climb from 14th, sir.
Yeah, thanks very much. And as I said, thanks for putting the broadcast on. And I'll see you guys next time for the new Weekend Warriors season.
Looking forward to it. That was Ryan Walker, who finished sixth. Bill, you've got up with the organizer real quick before we head out. Stevie Ray here to talk to us.
Stevie, you were ninth before your pit stop, which happened so early. You end up in 12th. Ran out of fuel a little bit at the end?
Hi, Soup. Yeah, coming through Lukey Heights there on the last lap, I started sputtering and kind of ran out. Had a good pit stop. I thought I was going to make up some stuff, and then I messed up getting around Adam, and Steven caught me, and we had a little race, and all of a sudden it was 3 wide when Sven come through. So it was a fun race. I just wanted to come in real quick and thank everybody for coming out today and showing up. A little light on our big grid numbers compared to what we usually do, but I'll chalk it up to the summer. And Phillip Island isn't the most popular usually, but it puts on some great races with the SRF, and it was very similar, a larger version of the Hallett track, so I thought we'd give it a shot this time.
Yeah, I thought it was a good event, even though the field wasn't as big as usual. There was enough for it to be an entertaining event. Hey, thanks for everything you do. Congratulations on another fine event. We'll see you down the road with the Weekend War.
All right, Soup. Thanks, guys. You guys do the best. We'll see you.
Joe?
And That was Stevie Ray, who wound up finishing 12th today. Big thanks to him, of course, for putting this on. And we also want to give a thank you to iRacing for putting us on the iRacing Esports Network. All you got to do, once again, is go to their YouTube page, click the big red button that says subscribe, and then you'll get plenty of races into your YouTube feed, all of them full of excitement. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. You can see them listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. We have a bunch of upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.